I learned that my father had established a trust fund exclusively for my privileged sister. So I stopped covering the costs of their vacation home and halted all additional support. A few weeks later, he sent me a text about the property taxes being due. No greeting, no checking in. I calmly responded and he yelled, his face turning red as he stormed across the living room of their Bear Lake vacation home. "How could you be so selfish?" he demanded. "Your sister needs that money for her new business. You have plenty." I stood there, stunned into silence, still gripping the property tax bill I'd just been blindsided with. What was meant to be a relaxed Sunday dinner had morphed into an interrogation about why I wasn't contributing enough anymore. My name is Louise Walsh, and at 33, I've built a thriving career as a self-taught day trader. I didn't grow up wealthy. Everything I own comes from endless nights analyzing market trends and taking calculated risks. For the past 5 years, I've been quietly paying the property taxes on my parents' vacation home, covering my younger sister Megan's car payments, and funding family trips without a word of complaint. It felt like my way of repaying the family that raised me, or so I believed. "Dad," I finally said, my voice steadier than I felt. "I've been covering everything for years, the property taxes, Megan's business trips, Mom's medical bills that insurance didn't touch. I've never asked for anything back, but I can't keep this up forever." My mother sat quietly on the couch, her eyes glued to her folded hands, refusing to meet my gaze. That stung more than my father's shouting. "We gave you everything when you were young," Dad went on, ignoring my words completely. "And now when we need you, you're abandoning us while your sister is trying to build something." That's when I spotted an envelope on the coffee table, half hidden under a magazine. The corner of a formal document poked out, with the words "Trust Fund" and Megan Walsh in bold print. My stomach sank. I grabbed the envelope before my father could intervene. "Louise, that's private," he snapped, but I was already reading, my hands shaking as the truth unfolded in stark legal terms. My father had set up a hefty trust fund for Megan, only Megan. This was the same man who'd told me for years there wasn't enough money to help with my college tuition, forcing me to juggle multiple jobs while studying. The same man who now expected me to fund their lavish lifestyle, while secretly securing my sister's future. "When were you going to tell me about this?" I whispered, a chilling clarity settling over me. My entire life suddenly clicked into place. The favoritism, the unequal expectations, the endless demands framed as family duty. I knew then that everything was about to shift. My father yanked the trust fund document from my hands, but it was too late. The figures were burned into my mind. $350,000 for Megan, with provisions for more, all while I'd been told the family was strapped for cash. "You weren't meant to see that," he mumbled, folding the paper and shoving it back into the envelope. "Clearly," I replied, my voice hollow. "I guess that explains why you never helped with my student loans." The pattern had always been there. Megan got dance lessons while I was told to focus on school. She received a car for her 16th birthday. I rode the bus until I saved enough from my part-time job to buy a used Honda. When college came, Megan attended a private university with family support, while I scraped together scholarships and worked 30 hours a week at a coffee shop. I'd always attributed it to shifting financial circumstances or different parenting styles. I never wanted to admit what was now undeniable. My parents valued Megan more. "Sweetheart," my mother finally spoke, her voice soft in that placating tone I now saw as manipulative. "Your sister needs more help than you. You've always been so independent, so capable. We're proud of how well you've done on your own." The warped logic stole my breath. I was penalized for my success while Megan was rewarded for her reliance. "All those times I asked for help," I said slowly, memories rushing back. "When I was working 2 jobs in college and barely sleeping, when my car broke down and I couldn't afford repairs, when I needed a deposit for my first apartment, you said you couldn't help. But the money was there. It was just reserved for Megan." Dad shifted uncomfortably. "Investment decisions aren't that simple, Louise. We had to plan for the future." "Just not my future," I replied. I thought of all the payments I'd made for them over the years. The property taxes on the vacation home alone were $8,700 a year, and I'd covered them for 5 years straight, plus countless other costs. I'd even paid $12,000 for roof repairs last summer without hesitation, all while they were secretly building a nest egg for my sister. "The taxes are due next month," Dad said, switching topics as he slid the bill toward me. And the Homeowners Association raised their fees again. I stared at him, incredulous. After what I just uncovered, he still expected me to pay. The nerve was staggering. Something inside me shifted then, a deep realignment. I'd been played for a fool, but that stopped now. "I'll take care of it," I said quietly, picking up the bill. My father relaxed, missing the determination in my eyes. The drive back to my Salt City apartment was a haze. The snow-capped mountains that usually calmed me seemed to loom accusingly against the darkening sky. I'd been so naive. At home, I ignored my ringing phone. Likely my father ensuring I wouldn't back out on the tax bill, and opened my laptop. With trembling fingers, I accessed a folder I'd kept meticulously for years but never thought I'd need. Financial Contributions Family. The spreadsheet that loaded detailed thousands of dollars I'd poured into my family's needs. 5 years of property taxes, $43,500. Megan's car payments I'd taken over when she claimed she couldn't afford them, $17,682. Medical expenses for my mother's knee surgery not covered by insurance, $8,200. Family vacations I'd funded as gifts, $22,450. The total made me sick. $91,832 over 5 years. All while my parents secretly channeled money into Megan's trust fund. I scrolled through digital copies of checks, transfer receipts, and text messages thanking me for my generosity. Each now felt like proof of my own gullibility. My phone pinged with a text from Megan. "Dad says you're being difficult about the taxes. Don't be selfish, Louise." I laughed bitterly. Of course she'd side with them. She'd been the beneficiary of their favoritism her whole life. Another text from my father. "We're counting on you for those taxes. Don't let us down." No thank you, no recognition of what I'd already given. Just the assumption I'd keep funding their lifestyle while they secured my sister's future. The next morning, I called in sick to my home office and drove to see Joseph Klein, the financial advisor who'd helped me grow my investment portfolio after I started earning serious money 3 years ago. "This is quite a list," Joseph said, reviewing my spreadsheet. His eyes widened at the total. "And you've never asked for repayment?" "They're family," I said simply. I wanted to help. Joseph removed his glasses and gave me a serious look. "Louise, your generosity is admirable. But this is unsustainable. You're jeopardizing your own financial future while enabling dependence. This isn't healthy for anyone." "I know that now," I said quietly. "I just found out they've created a substantial trust fund for my sister, while letting me shoulder all these expenses." Joseph's expression darkened. "That changes things." For the next 2 hours we crafted a plan. I'd need documentation. Notarized statements of all my contributions, formal receipts, a full accounting of everything I'd given. Joseph recommended his colleague, Victor Hernandez, a forensic accountant who specialized in financial disputes. "Are you sure you want to go down this road?" Joseph asked as our meeting wrapped up. Family conflicts over money can get messy fast. I thought of the trust fund document, the years of being told there wasn't enough to help me while Megan got everything, the property tax bill my father had slid across the table with the casual expectation I'd handle it. "I'm sure," I said, my voice stronger than it had been in days. "It's time they understood exactly what I've been contributing, and what happens when it stops." As I left Joseph's office, I felt something I hadn't in years when it came to my family. Control. A week after discovering the trust fund, I sat in Victor Hernandez's office, surrounded by stacks of papers. The forensic accountant had been meticulously organizing my financial contributions to the Walsh family over the past 5 years. "Your documentation is remarkably thorough," Victor noted, sorting through bank statements and receipts. "Most people don't keep records this detailed." My day trading background had instilled rigorous record-keeping habits. Every transaction, every transfer, every expense, all carefully tracked and categorized. "So what's the total damage?" I asked, bracing myself. Victor slid a document across his desk. The final tally was worse than my initial calculations. $106,747. The additional $14,915 comes from interest you've lost by diverting these funds from your own investments, he explained. "Based on your portfolio's performance, that's a conservative estimate." I nodded, feeling a strange mix of vindication and sorrow. The numbers made the betrayal tangible, indisputable. What now? I asked. That depends on what you want, Victor replied. If you're seeking legal restitution, we could build a case, though family financial matters are tricky without written agreements. If you're documenting this for closure or as leverage in family discussions, we can prepare a comprehensive financial statement. The second option, I said. For now. As Victor prepared the documentation, my phone buzzed with texts. Dad. Haven't received the tax payment yet. Due date is approaching. Megan. Dad says you're being difficult about money after all they've done for you. Really, Louise? I silenced my phone without replying. Let them wonder. 3 days later, I received a notarized financial statement from Victor's office, detailing every cent I'd contributed to my family over 5 years, categorized by recipient, purpose, and date. It included a calculation of lost investment opportunity and a statement from Joseph Klein verifying the analysis's legitimacy. That evening my mother called. Louise, your father is concerned about the property tax payment, she began, her voice carefully neutral to mask any tension. The due date is next week. I know when it's due, Mom. Well, will you be handling it? You've always been so reliable about these things. The casual assumption in her voice sparked something in me. 5 years of payments without a single thank you. 5 years of giving while they secretly built my sister's nest egg. Not this time, I said quietly. A long pause. What do you mean? I'm not paying the property taxes anymore. Or any other family expenses. But we're counting on you. The money is already allocated elsewhere. Her voice had a frantic edge now. To Megan's trust fund, you mean? The words hung between us. Another long silence. Your father told me you saw that. Louise, you have to understand. I understand perfectly, Mom. I understand that I've contributed nearly $107,000 to this family over 5 years, while you and Dad told me there wasn't enough to help with my education or housing. I understand that I've been funding your lifestyle, while you've been securing Megan's future. That's not fair, she protested weakly. No, it's not, I agreed. And I'm done with it. I ended the call and turned off my phone, knowing the real storm was coming. My father wouldn't take this quietly. He'd always viewed my financial support as an obligation, not generosity. The next morning, I opened my laptop and made 3 significant changes. First, I canceled the automatic payment for Megan's car. Second, I removed myself as an authorized payer on all family accounts. Third, I transferred $107,000 from my brokerage account to a new, separate investment fund labeled My Future. For the first time in years, I felt unburdened. The weight of constant family financial expectations lifted. The fallout was swift and intense. By noon, my phone was flooded with messages. I turned it back on during my lunch break, watching notifications pour in with a strange detachment. Megan called 7 times before sending frantic texts. What the hell, Louise? The bank says my car payment was declined. Are you trying to ruin my credit score? I have plans this weekend. Dad is furious. Fix this now. My father's messages were more direct. Call me immediately. This is unacceptable behavior. You can't just abandon your responsibilities to this family. I ignored them all and focused on my trading day. The markets were volatile, demanding my full attention. Only after closing my positions did I listen to the single voicemail my mother had left. Louise, please, her voice trembled. Your father is beside himself. The property tax notice came with a late fee warning. Megan can't make her car payment. She'll lose her vehicle. We don't understand why you're doing this. Whatever's upset you, we can talk about it. Please call us back. No mention of the trust fund, no acknowledgement of my years of support, just pressure to resume the status quo. I was drafting a measured response when my intercom buzzed. The building security guard's voice came through. Miss Walsh, your father is here, demanding to see you. He's quite insistent. My stomach tightened. Tell him I'm not available. He's saying he won't leave until you come down. I sighed. Then call the police if he refuses to leave. Very well, ma'am. 20 minutes later, I received a text from an unknown number. My cousin Thomas. Just saw Uncle Greg being escorted from your building by security. What's going on? Are you okay? I hadn't spoken to Thomas in months. I texted back, "I'm fine. Family financial disagreement." His response surprised me. "About time you stood up to them. The way they've treated you versus Megan has been wrong for years." I stared at my phone. I'd always assumed no one else in the family noticed the disparity. Thomas's validation was unexpected and deeply affirming. At 7 p.m. my doorbell rang. I checked the peephole to see Megan, arms crossed, foot tapping impatiently. I opened the door but blocked the entrance. "What do you want?" "What do I want?" she repeated, incredulous. "I want you to explain why you're suddenly acting like a psycho. My car payment bounced. Dad says you're refusing to pay the taxes on the lake house." "Correct," I said calmly. "Why? What's your problem?" "The problem is that I've contributed nearly $107,000 to this family over the last 5 years, while Dad has been secretly funding a trust for you." Megan's expression flickered. Surprise, then guilt, then defensive anger. "That's different," she insisted. "The trust is for my future. I need that security." "And I don't?" "You've always been the smart one," she said, as if that justified everything. "You've got your fancy trading career. I'm still trying to find my path at 31, Megan. While I pay your car payments and fund family vacations." She flushed. "You've never complained before." "Because I didn't know I was being manipulated. I didn't know that while I was draining my accounts to help the family, Dad was funneling money into your trust fund." "It's not that much money," she mumbled. $350,000 is a significant amount." Her eyes widened. "How do you know the exact?" "I saw the document." A beat of silence passed. Then, astonishingly, Megan tried a new tactic. Her expression softened as she reached for my arm. "Look, Louise, I understand you're upset, but we're family. We need your help. Dad says without the tax payment, they might lose the lake house." I stepped back, breaking her contact. "That's not my problem anymore. You'd let them lose the vacation home where we spent our summers? How can you be so cold?" I looked at my sister, really looked at her, and saw the entitlement that had been nurtured her entire life. She genuinely couldn't grasp why I'd stopped supporting the family financially. "They have options," I said. "They could use some of your trust fund." Megan's face hardened. "That's not fair." I smiled sadly. "No, Megan, nothing about this has been fair." I closed the door gently but firmly in her face. 2 weeks passed. The property tax deadline came and went. I maintained radio silence with my parents and Megan, focusing instead on my work and financial planning. Joseph had helped me restructure my investment portfolio now that I wasn't bleeding money to my family. The difference was substantial. I could significantly boost my retirement contributions and even consider purchasing a small vacation property of my own. My newfound peace was disrupted when I received an email from Uncle Pete, my father's brother. "Louise, what's going on with Greg and the lake house? He's asking me for a $10,000 loan to cover property taxes and penalties. Said something about you refusing to help the family anymore. This doesn't sound like you." I sat staring at the screen, a bitter laugh escaping. So my father was turning to other family members for money rather than touching Megan's sacred trust fund. I carefully composed a reply, attaching a PDF summary of my financial contributions to the family over 5 years, along with a brief explanation of the trust fund situation. Uncle Pete's response came within an hour. "Holy hell, Louise, I had no idea." No one did. "Greg's been telling everyone he's struggling to help both his daughters equally. This changes things." The next day my cousin Thomas called. "Louise, there's something you should know," he said, his voice urgent. "There's a family meeting at your parents' house this weekend. Uncle Greg called it to discuss Louise's abandonment of the family. He's trying to rally everyone against you." My stomach tightened. "Thanks for telling me." "There's more," Thomas continued. "I overheard my dad talking to your father. They're planning to guilt you into not just resuming payments but covering all the late fees and penalties too. They're framing it as you deliberately damaging the family legacy." The audacity was breathtaking. "Are you going to this meeting?" I asked. "Yes, and so are you," Thomas said firmly. "You need to set the record straight." "I'll back you up." I agreed, though anxiety churned in my stomach. Confronting my father with the extended family present would be daunting but perhaps necessary. When Saturday arrived, I dressed carefully in a professional black pantsuit that always gave me confidence during tough negotiations. I drove to my parents' house with Victor's complete financial documentation, including notarized statements and calculations of lost investment opportunity. The living room fell silent when I walked in. My father stood by the fireplace, clearly in mid-speech. Aunts, uncles, and cousins sat around, their expressions a mix of confusion and concern. Megan sat beside our mother on the sofa, both looking uneasy. "Louise," my father recovered quickly, "I'm glad you decided to join us. We were just discussing the family vacation home situation." "I'm sure you were," I replied evenly, setting my briefcase on the coffee table. "And I'm sure you provided everyone with all the relevant financial information." His eyes narrowed. "We're discussing your refusal to meet family obligations." "Interesting," I said, opening my briefcase. "Because I have 5 years of financial records showing over $106,000 in family obligations I've already met. Money that apparently wasn't available to help with my education or housing, but was somehow available for Megan's trust fund." A ripple of murmurs spread through the room. My Aunt Catherine, always direct, spoke up. "What trust fund?" I looked at my father, giving him a chance to respond. When he stayed silent, I passed copies of the summary document to everyone. "For the past 5 years, I've paid the property taxes on the lake house, covered Megan's car payments, funded family vacations, and more, totaling nearly $107,000. During the same period, my parents established a $350,000 trust fund exclusively for my sister." The room erupted in overlapping voices. My father's face flushed deep red. "These are private family matters," he thundered. "Exactly," Uncle Pete interjected, standing up. "Family matters, and in this family, we should treat our children equally." I hadn't expected this level of support. As the room divided into heated discussions, my father's gaze locked with mine. In his eyes I saw something new: fear. Fear of exposure, of his carefully crafted narrative unraveling. And behind that fear, something even more surprising: respect. The family meeting ended with my father storming out and my mother tearfully following. Megan sat frozen on the couch, avoiding eye contact. The rest of the family lingered, processing the revelations. "I had no idea it was this bad," Aunt Catherine said, studying the financial documentation. "Greg always portrayed you as the successful one who didn't need help." Uncle Pete shook his head. "This isn't right. The lake house has been part of our extended family memories for years. If you've been paying those taxes, you should have some ownership stake." I hadn't considered this angle. The vacation property was titled solely in my parents' names, despite my significant financial investment. "I don't want the house," I explained. "I just want them to recognize the unfairness of the situation." Thomas placed a hand on my shoulder. "Recognition isn't enough, Louise. There should be consequences." 3 days after the family meeting, my phone lit up with a text from my father. No apology, no acknowledgement of wrongdoing, just 4 blunt words. "The property taxes are due." I stared at the message, incredulous at his nerve after everything that had been revealed. He was still treating me like his personal ATM. That evening my mother called. "Louise," her voice was hesitant, "your father isn't handling this well. The lake house means everything to him." "More than treating his daughters equally?" I asked. Her silence was telling. "Mom, I've contributed nearly $107,000 to this family. Dad created a $350,000 trust fund for Megan without ever offering me similar support. The disparity is glaring." "I know," she admitted quietly. "I've always known it wasn't right, but your father makes the financial decisions." "I understand," I finished for her. "But this is where it stops." The next morning, I texted my father back with a single attachment: a photograph of the complete notarized financial record of my contributions over 5 years, with the total circled in red. No accompanying message was needed. The documentation spoke for itself. An hour after sending the photo, my phone rang. I expected my father's angry voice but heard Megan's instead. "Louise," she sounded shaken. "Dad just showed me all the documentation you sent. Is it really that much? Over $106,000. Yes, I confirmed. Every penny documented and verified by a forensic accountant. A long pause. I had no idea, she said finally. Dad always told me you were helping a little here and there because you had extra money. He never said you were covering major expenses while he was building my trust fund. Her voice cracked. For the first time, I heard genuine remorse from my sister. Louise, I don't know what to say. I feel terrible. It's not entirely your fault, I conceded. Dad created the situation. But I benefited from it, she said. And I never questioned it. I just assumed I deserved the help. Another long pause, then Megan surprised me. I'm going to fix this, she declared. It's not right. Before I could ask what she meant, she hung up. The next day, I received formal documentation from my father's attorney. The property taxes on the lake house had been paid in full, along with a legally binding amendment to the ownership. I now owned a 25% stake in the property. Attached was a note from the lawyer explaining that Megan had insisted on using funds from her trust to cover the taxes and legal fees for the ownership transfer. My phone buzzed with a text from my father. This wasn't necessary. Family helps family. I didn't respond. His message showed he still didn't grasp, or refused to acknowledge, the fundamental unfairness of his actions. Minutes later, another text arrived, this one from my mother. Your father is struggling with this, but I want you to know I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself. I should have done the same years ago. That evening, Megan called again. I've asked Dad to split the trust fund equally between us, she said. He refused at first, but Uncle Pete and Aunt Catherine backed me up. He's meeting with his financial advisor tomorrow to make the arrangements. I felt a weight lift, not because of the money, but because of what it represented: acknowledgement, fairness, respect. Thank you, Megan, I said sincerely. No, she replied. Thank you for finally making us face the truth.